It's frankly hard to understate the importance of this match to St. Louis's regular season playoff hopes. St. Louis at home in Fenton, Missouri, Toyota Stadium, the site, the second all-time meeting between St. Louis FC and Orlando City B. Hello, everybody, and welcome with Gary O'Reilly, Mike Watts. Glad to have you aboard tonight. And when you look at Orlando City B, they have so many options with which to score tonight. Albert Dequa is going to be the player tasked with getting out in front of the line.
He's blessed, isn't he, Anthony Pulis, that he's got someone like Dequa to come in. Haji Barry not involved in the starting lineup, so looks to Dequa to solve the goal-scoring problems. He could even turn to Michael Cox. He's blessed with a number of strikers who can turn into goals. So hopefully that man finds the back of the net this evening.
Dequa has not scored since May. On the other side, let's take a further look at Christian Valesky, your Toyota player to watch tonight for St. Louis.
Most certainly, Valesky's been the player that's dragged the goals with him in the latter part of the season, and they'll be looking to him to carry them forward for the goal-scoring content in the game. So from the home side's point of view, that's exactly where they'll be looking first.
So Valesky, the focal point for St. Louis. A look at the starting 11 brought to you by Cyberg's family of restaurants. A 12-game unbeaten streak is over for Orlando after a loss to Richmond. They made 4 changes.
And it doesn't seem to matter because they go on such a strong run. They don't get beaten. They draw probably too many games for their liking, their coach's liking, but it's building the right habits. I'm really interested to see Pierre da Silva. There's so much of a buzz around that young player, so looking to see just how well he performs this evening.
Da Silva, all of 19 years old, and the starting 11 for St. Louis brought to you by Cyberg's family of restaurants. 7 changes to this group.
Why are we surprised? This is what happens, and it's a good discipline. You learn to play in different positions. You learn to set things up, and I'm really interested again to see Seth Rudolph. He's got goals. He hasn't had as many appearances, particularly starting appearances this season. I'm sure he would like, but he has found the back of the net, and particularly from midfield.
So this a massive game for St. Louis. 4 matches winless, but they led in 3 of those matches. So tonight, they have to finish. For Orlando, they control their own destiny, and they're better away than they are at home. The matchup comes your way from Fenton next. The Louligans are ready. This most recent set of home games have left them longing for more. They need a win tonight. They face 3 teams within 4 positions of them on the table over the course of the next month. They could still very much reach the playoffs, but this game is massive. Preki is the lead man for the organization in St. Louis, the head coach. who's in year number 1 and still has ambition to see this group reach the playoffs, despite speaking to the fact that they know they were going to make changes coming into this affair. The first start in St. Louis for Tyler Feely at the bottom of your screen. Christian Valesky, one of the players brought in by Preki this year, standing over the ball at midfield in the green jerseys. For St. Louis tonight, when you face a team that's in the playoff position, you want your 5 points away. This becomes, truthfully, a 6-point game.
Well, I kind of follow your maths. You just beat what's in front of you. You know what you have to do. There's no confusion about, oh, what if this, what if that. Get the job done. You're at home. Get the win, get the 3 points, move on to the next 3 points.
David Legoric gets the calling goal and plays to A.J. Cochran. Now time for the Mercy Sports Medicine Injury Report. Octavio Guzman and Matt Sheldon unavailable tonight. But of course, a couple yellow card accumulation suspensions don't help the cause. Ivan Mirkovic and Konrad Pleva are out tonight due to yellow card accumulation. Albert Dequa can't keep that in play. And Timbo steps forward. Part of a Brazilian presence in this Orlando City organization. Starts with ownership and then goes to Kaká and then works all the way through.
No, I followed exactly where you were. I was just looking at Timbo and thinking, is that the 3rd or 4th different position he's played in so far this season?
You think about a guy like Tony Walls, and for St. Louis, he's played in multiple different positions. It's a good run forward for Rudolph, who gets the call to start. Feely still pushing on. A calm clearance, but still dangerous. Feely was after it.
He wasn't aware of what was behind him, was he? Just going back to that, Rudolph's run in behind the Orlando B defense is what causes the panic and the problems. If he's prepared to do that all game, he's going to cause so many difficulties for them.
Ball back to Howe. Playing Bjurman. Service headed away. Comes to Feely, who shoots. He left it a bit too high. And so far, a good start for St. Louis through 2 minutes.
It's off on the good foot, isn't it? It's unlucky for Feely because he's ball's right underneath his feet, and it's difficult to get the leverage you want, particularly when you're crowded out by defenders.
You and I spoke about it coming into the match. We both thought Seth Rudolph could play a big role. You were really impressed by what you saw from him at times. Right off the bat, he's facilitating in the offensive half.
He wants to go forward, and you can see that, and as such, defenders have to be aware. If they play too high a line, there's an issue. If they drop too deep, he's got space.
Ali Hadzic, knocked down, Valesky! It slid away at the last moment by Donovan. Enough from Fenlison to keep it out.
Fenlison can't be happy with spilling the ball like that, particularly with Valesky right in front of him. It's a difficult ball to deal with because I think it just bounces right in front of the goalkeeper. He spills it, but hey, what good defending there. See it here, look. Donovan's got to make that first, otherwise Valesky has, what is it, number 9 of the season?
Number 7.
Close enough.
Close enough. St. Louis fans wouldn't complain if he got to 9 when it's all said and done.
If I bumped him up 1 or 2, they wouldn't complain.
No. He's got 6. 6 more for Rudolph. Joint team lead. Rudolph working on the right now.
He's already been, obviously, you can see Rudolph's been given instructions to work the space behind, to work those wide areas. He's gone both left and right deep into the corners in the opening, 4 minutes?
Ledbetter back into the lineup as a starter. Didn't feature last time out. 13th start of the year, 6 in green.
Tough for Dequa because you can see there he's playing very much a lone striker's role, so he's got to patrol that back 4 all on his own. Be a tough night for running.
Timbo turning it over. Overlapping run from Howe. Howe swerved it in. Knocked out by Zach Ellis Hayden.
Hayden does well because there's 3 green shirts at least waiting in the 6-yard area. Does that ball travel deeper into the 6-yard area? So what will Orlando be like defending corners? We're about to find out.
Ryan Howe, 23-year-old defender from Rockford, Illinois. Howe drives it to the short post. Wide by Ali Hodzic. Howe turning on it again. He'll earn another corner. This one off of Paul Close.
Close has got to make sure that he stops that cross coming in, even if he does give away the corner.
It's a short corner this time. Ali Hodzic drove that off the back of Martz. Comes free to Rudolph, De Silva. That was a spirited bout at the touchline.
Yeah, a little bit of a fiery temperament, you'd say, from De Silva.
No one doubts Pierre De Silva's outstanding youthful talent, and he'll be in MLS in a short amount of time. When we talk about the USL and the big stars and the rising talents, he is the poster boy for rising talent, but he also has 2 red cards and a handful of yellows.
That's what happens with young players, and you have to get burnt before you learn not to put your hand in the fire sometimes. But they get there.
They do. Tyler David pushing ahead.
Was a confident start from St. Louis.
Very.
They're moving the ball. They're penetrating in both left and right flanks.
At some point in your career, not suggesting that you were the player who came out, but 7 changes to a lineup after a disheartening run of form is generally a pretty clear statement from the coaching staff, no?
It is, but coaches change teams regularly in this league, and as such, it's not an unfamiliar happening.
Dequa gave chase, and A.J. Cochran knocks it out.
In an ideal world, you'd play a settled 11 every single game, but we don't live in an ideal world. If your team understand that you will make changes, and sometimes it's not because you've played badly, you're just resting assets, you're giving players game time, you're making sure that players don't get fatigued and therefore vulnerable to injury.
Valesky kept it in, Bjurman. Brecky saying this week, the team website over on stlouisfc.com, we expect the players who trained well and wanted their opportunity will take advantage of the opportunity they're going to get tonight. Well played by Bjurman. Allow that to roll up to him. And played on the ground through. Opportunity for Rudolph again! Slicing ball that found its way out. It's a goal kick.
Well, there are a couple of Orlando B statues with their arms raised, looking for offside. Yet it's Seth Rudolph who's mobile. He times his run particularly well. It's a short run, but it's very flat, and then he ducks in right at the end, allowing himself to remain in an onside position.
Fenlison set to go to work out of Akron, went to the Final Four in the NCAA College Cup. Foul drawn, and it's Lewis Neal. Out of reach of Howe. Bouncing to Valesky. He's tugged off the ball by Neal, but the attack's still going now. Bjurman being pulled to the corner. Martz.
Bjurman was asked a lot to chase that ball down, but they've still got possession, St. Louis.
David. Lobbing back. The midseason addition, Tony Walls. Now Cochran, the halfway line. Ali Hodzic. David sprays into the right-hand corner now. Service played in front towards Valesky, still alive now for Feely. Lays off again, service toward Valesky, headed out. Howe brings it down. Howe will shoot. He'll score! Ryan Howe in the 10th minute. How big a goal could this be for St. Louis? It's his second of the year. 1-0 St. Louis FC.
Deserved, truly deserved by St. Louis. No one really closes him down with any intent, so he just does the next best thing he possibly can. Drills it low with pace. There's nothing Thunderson can do about that. I mean, they've built the pressure up, haven't they, St. Louis? They've kept Orlando B on the back foot, pinned very much around their 18-yard area, and this goal is just desserts.
The replay of the St. Louis FC goal delivered by Domino's, and of course, Ryan Howe. Massive for the man out of Loyola Chicago and played in PDL for Ocean City Nor'easters.
I don't think you'd be looking at Ryan Howe as your opening goal scorer, would you, before kickoff? But you'll take it for whatever it is. It was a great strike.
I don't know what the odds were, but someone can cash their ticket now. Howe on it again with a long throw, but that was a long time coming for St. Louis. They did play the more protagonist side at the beginning of this.
Oh no, they've taken the game to Orlando B. They really have got off on the front foot. They've explored left, they've explored right. They've got a number of corners coming through, and then Ryan Howe sat on the edge of the 18-yard area waiting for anything to drop out. That's good play. He patrolled that area, and then he's just given the invitation to drill one home.
David Lofting. Ball headed out. Can they handle this second ball better than the previous couple of efforts? And Schweitzer did.
We highlighted Albert Dicroix before kickoff. He's hardly been a feature, has he? In the opening 12 minutes, he's probably not touched the ball more than 2 or 3 times. Make that 4.
Johnny on the spot. Neal. Maybe a chance for Dicroix to get involved for Orlando City B. Pushing into the corner to Silva. He'll recollect again. De Silva, a man who's already got 7 assists this year. Howe there defensively. Well, he'd be coming around as Ellis Hayden.
And that's Valesky, that's the centre forward. Back on the edge of his 18-yard area, tackling to win possession. That's great. The thing is, when you want him to score goals, he's got to make an 80-yard run to get up the other end. It is great because it means he's all part of the team, but sometimes you don't want your striker chasing around everywhere. You want him to be fit and good when he gets the ball in front of goal.
He's got that Bob Lilly coaching style stuck to him, the former Rochester Rhino, for a team that asked Valesky to make those runs on a very consistent basis.
Sometimes you don't have to ask a player. It's just part of their makeup. Just that's what they do, and they do it all game long, so you're not too worried about it. Some players aren't like that.
9 and green out of SIU Edwardsville, all of 27 miles away from Toyota Stadium. Hayden. Good lead for Martz. Martz drives in, he'll shoot. Couldn't corral that in.
It was a nice setup by Dicroix. Just when he does get it, Martz, his second touch takes him wider right than he wants to, and then that leaves him with a bit of an awkward balance to cut across. If we see this replay here, the second touch takes him wider than he wants to. He wants to stay more central. That will give him a better angle on a strike on goal, and he doesn't then have to look at a cross.
Gorick clearance found Howe. From Martz, just simply looking for his second goal of the year. Played in Malta last year. Comes down to Feely. Just his second start in the last 2 years. Came over from Orange County. Howe is stripped. Martz continuing on, trying to round the corner. Finally, now he does. Martz serves over Dequa. Hit behind him as well. Taken back by Hayden. Fenlison a long way from home. Long ball. Dequa trying to bring it down. Now Dave Legoric will pull it in.
Goric there just waited, didn't he? Let the players ahead of him try and deal with it and then come out and gathered. As long as there's communication between defenders and keeper, there shouldn't be an issue.
Goric will take over here and play Cochran. 4-match winless streak for St. Louis. But perhaps most telling, they led first in 3 of those games. So they're trying to change that narrative here tonight while there's still very much time left for them to reach the Eastern Conference playoffs.
It's about habits quite often. The habit of taking the lead's a good habit, but being able to retain that lead, that's a habit they haven't really got the hang of just yet.
Dequa. Lewis Neal. Neal still. Ooh. Goric there made the stop. Parries it wide.
Good turn and strike from Lewis Neal. It doesn't allow Goric to get a side of the ball. Just turns and hits it immediately. That's the thing, when you've got your back to goal, if you know where you are geographically on the field, you remember one thing: the goals don't move. So there you just make sure you know where your bearings are on the field, and you can take a strike even if you're partially unsighted as to where the goal might be.
At 36, and you're Lewis Neal, if you don't know where the goal is now, you're never going to find it.
There is a point made.
Service to Silva, there's Goric.
That's catching practice.
Yes.
You know, you've got a great opportunity from a set play. You'll have worked at different things because Anthony Pulis is one of those coaches. You know, like father, like son, it's in the DNA. You know how you can get certain advantages within a game, and set plays are definitely one of them. And then you give the goalkeeper catching practice.
Well, you played in the Premier League and you've commentated around it for a long time. What's the Pulis blueprint? What does that look like?
Under no circumstances allow them to score.
Fair enough.
And we go from there.
And so far, Orlando's been pretty good at that.
Yeah.
They're third in the USL in goals allowed.
That's it. So the DNA from father like son. It's, you know, it's quite simple. There is that mantra within coaching: you are never more vulnerable than when you have the ball.
It's when a bad giveaway makes you most.
Right. So what happens is people, if they're not disciplined, get carried away. Oh, you know, they hear the bugle call and off they go charging up the field. That breaks your formation. That disrupts your shape. Then you lose the ball for whatever reason. Your shape is fractured. You're there. You're vulnerable. And so a lot of coaches look at compact formation and discipline when they have the ball.
Who gave the Luligans a bugle?
I'm sure they've got more than a bugle.
They do.
A drum, a megaphone.
They have many of both.
Yeah.
Fenlison on the ground.
See, that's great pressure from Feely. He's made that happen. That throw-in, although it's not a great deal in terms of the overall outcome of the game, but that's territorial advantage. Just because he's chased down the goalkeeper, chased down the central defender, they now can push forward and get another attack going.
Howe, the goal scorer in the 10th on the toss in, and Martz there defensively. Howe again. It is unique. You don't really look at the talent on Orlando City's MLS club under Jason Kreis. They played one outstanding game today against Atlanta on the road in front of 70,000 at Mercedes-Benz.
That is incredible.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And 30,000 at Nippert, setting a new USL record today, 30,400. So congratulations to FC Cincinnati.
And that as well is an incredible turnout. The appetite is here within the USA, most definitely, for MLS and USL.
Everyone looks at what certain colleges do. Portland has always had a good college program. St. Louis with the Billikens, always a good college program in terms of drawing attendance. And so certain markets, you're just not surprised when they really grab hold of the game. Ball off Donovan is still in play. Pierman giving chase.
See the frustration there for Da Silva. Gets the ball, has time, has space, head up, looks at the picture ahead of him. It's just Dequa, and he's marked because he's 1 against 4. So then the whole thing begins to stall. There's no speed in the attack.
Martz sent wide by Schweitzer. That was Hayden off of Howe. So what do you do to change that then? If Dequa is going to be your lone striker, do you need another? How do you make one striker work when St. Louis holds the ball as often as they are right now?
Okay, so really you just have to suffer the frustration for a while, because you can't defend as deep as you are because St. Louis have pushed them back and then launch lightning counterattacks. You know, if the team's full of Usain Bolts, we might have a chance.
Are you not calling Albert Dequa Usain Bolt?
I'm not calling anyone but Usain Bolt, Usain Bolt.
Oh, that's right. Pierre Da Silva in the 21st minute on the corner. More catching practice.
Oh, okay, so if you're going to put it in that area, have somebody at least in the area of the goalkeeper. Gorek cannot have the freedom just to catch it. You know, get ahead in there, don't foul him, but just create an interference, make it difficult for him.
Makes you wonder whether or not that ball was left a little too close to the goal. Dequa. Bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how this one plays out.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Got the reference.
Alongside Pepper Brooks, Mike Watts. Howe. Close.
And that's all Dequa can do. If he's going to be fed sparse kind of service, is compete the best he can with what comes his way and go from there. And hopefully, when it goes up to him, he can retain possession, hold on to it for as long as he can. That allows his teammates to push forward and, you know, just make the whole thing happen by dropping onto him, giving him options to pass.
Step back. And if you think about the two forwards that they have, Michael Cox is of the same ilk. They play a similar way. Last goal for Dequa came in May.
Yeah,
Only 2 goals for Cox all year, and they came against Louisville a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, all in the same, both in the same game. Yeah.
And for Cox, he had scored 11 goals last year. They've gotten a lot more production out of that singular forward, and they aren't getting it right now from the top man. Danielle Chesky will have a word. Well, that's a couple words.
Yeah, she wasn't too enamored with Timbo's control with the shoulder. No, sometimes it happens. I think when you rotate strikers, it's difficult to keep them happy because they can't score if they're not playing. I know you know this logic.
It's the little things.
It's not your first rodeo, as it were. But it's that case of that's probably what it is. You get into a rhythm, and if you keep being put on the bench and not starting, it's harder to keep that rhythm going.
Dequa 9 starts this year, Cox 8. So they've circled the wagons around a couple of players this year in what at times looks like a 4-4-2, at others a 4-4-1-1 even. Stripped well by St. Louis. Valesky.
But look at the amount of space. Because St. Louis have committed bodies forward, they can be vulnerable to a counter-attack at pace.
Martz goes to work on Howe. Martz is opened up. Cleared by Cochran.
But when Martz comes inside Howe, you notice immediately Cochran comes across, stops that direct route to goal, doubles up, and blocks the winger from going any further.
Throw coming for Hayden. Preki on the near touchline, providing instruction. Ali Hodzic.
Not sure he really wanted to turn back into that area, boxing himself in.
Well, it's well done by Hayden to take it back.
Oh, you've got to give
right
it.
At the edge.
Oh, that has got to be borderline.
Free kick, no penalty, and Howe put that entirely in the referee's decision.
Hero to villain.
Not yet. How close was he to villain?
I think this is in, but I'm going to go with the replay. The initial contact is outside. Yes, absolutely right, referee. He may fall dramatically into the box, but the initial contact is outside, so that's where you put the free kick from. That's why she's the referee and I'm not. She got it right.
Daniel Chesky earns the...
No, there's no sarcastic applause, not at all, never.
I wasn't suggesting.
She got it right. It's as simple as that, she got it right.
There was nothing sarcastic about my applause.
Okay. Difficult angle, low and hard with pace. Play a bit of pinball in there.
De Silva lofts this towards the back post. Knocked down by Donovan.
And that's why if you loft it up like that, there's no pace on the ball. Any power that comes in the header has to be generated by the player himself.
And Donovan was behind. He wasn't.
And then you're not going to be really gifted a free jump.
Right.
So it's going to compound the problem.
Will this stay in? It does for Feely.
Got to get cover. Otherwise, Feely's got a one-on-one.
Well, Feely's going to take it. Lays it across. Kicked away from Rudolph. David still chasing Schweitzer. Comes to Martz.
I thought Rudolph was going to use his left foot, take that first time, because he scored both left and right footed goals this season.
Dequa earns the free kick.
Classic central defender's foul, right on the halfway line.
That looks at least several inches past the halfway line.
And
De Silva.
He's done well to keep that in, hasn't he?
Oh. Neal into space vacated. Schweitzer. There's no overlapping run.
He's played that blind, hoping that the run had continued.
And if it did, dangerous. Here comes Feely in his own right. Long run for Fenlison. Cochran moving forward. Feely was offside, or at least he had thought so. Hey fans, be sure to visit one of 7 local St. Louis area Toyota dealers. Toyota Stadium tonight in Fenton, Missouri. Dequa out of the reach of De Silva. Attack still on. Dequa heads it down. Pulled in by Gorick. He simply spiked it straight into the ground.
That's the only opportunity he's had, and we're pushing on the half-hour mark. He will not be happy. He's not got a better contact with that. He's stretching for that cross as it comes in, but even still, you would want him to get a better contact with his forehead.
Flicked on towards Valesky. Headed down Ellis Hayden. He doesn't have a clear path to this ball. Valesky's taking it over.
Valesky just muscles him out of the way.
Bjurman. Valesky. Alehodzic. Opening wide for Ledbetter. Who serves? Fenlison pulls it in. Valesky was snooping behind.
Fenlison does well there because that cross in between both him and his back line is always the most dangerous area to hit. So he comes out and dominates that. Good goalkeeping.
Fenlison just his 5th start of the year. Earl Edwards Jr. is a goalkeeper of the year candidate with Orlando City now. He's in Atlanta on the bench, available tonight for Orlando City Soccer Club. Schweitzer stepping through. Schweitzer shooting off the crossbar. Gorick pulls it in. Preki said this week, we need a couple bounces to go our way. That is the definition. Timbo drops it back.
How many? Because that's a lick of paint away from being a goal. That's as close as it's going to get.
Martz, Pulis looking on as his team allows this out. Whew.
He's got no one really pressurizing him. No, the defender doesn't come towards him and close him down. And all right, they've gone a goal behind Orlando B, but they've come back and showed character. You know, you highlighted the fact that they've been strong on the road this season.
Dave Legoric, start number 14. Last year, leading man for Colorado Springs in goal. One of the best defensive sides in USL. He was up for goalkeeper of the year. How's your goal scorer right now? 10th minute. Really well taken from over 20 yards out.
Little tussle between Howe and Martz, isn't there? Little cameo to keep your eye on. Now and again, you get a fullback wide player, little tussle, little duel between them.
Played into space. Judo kicked up by Schweitzer. With that Timbo. Widening out for Ledbetter. David Rudolph. He's been a tertiary player over the last 15 minutes after a starring role early on, Rudolph.
Yeah, he has done, but he's one of those players that he makes those runs. And don't forget, Orlando, since they went a goal behind, have been the slightly more dominant force in the game. So his ability to make late runs into the area, into attacking areas, is diminished because of the fact that he has to do more defending.
Timbo.
And that's the player you want to see, De Silva. As Orlando get more control of midfield and the possession, to see a player like De Silva come to the fore.
Slid through the legs of Martz. Out of the reach of David, who continued on and now wins it after Daniel Chesky played a minor role. Played through Schweitzer, Dequa, after Cochran.
Cochran reads that well because Schweitzer's seen Dequa's run and he knows he's got good pace, but ran out of grass really to make that pass from further back. Might have been advantage, but he didn't have it. That is a high risk. First time. Oh, go on.
Feely. Carroll is caught up. Feely turning to his right, sending it across, diving header away. Fenlison, hand to his chest. He knows how much danger he just put his side in, and it's not out yet with a corner on the way.
And I can tell you that Anthony Pulis has just said to him, please don't do that again. Because that's going to be such a problem. What they did there, St. Louis, is split the two strikers. One wide, one right, one left. And then the goalkeeper gets trapped into pushing that ball in the central area, and Tyler David's there, and he just stretches a leg out, and that's a real problem if the goalkeeper doesn't come to terms with that.
An Electro Savings corner kick for St. Louis. Toward that back post. Steered out to Rudolph. Off of Schweitzer. De Silva. Leading pass. Will Rudolph get there? He does. And now Ledbetter, who was led appropriately.
No more of that, please.
34th minute. Ryan Howe takes a deflection, comes to Dequa. Trying to get by Cochran. Holding on. Leading up for Martz. Ali Hadzic cut him off. Ellis Hayden.
They've got possession, Orlando B, but they're not making penetration, are they? Which tells you the formation and shape of St. Louis is good and is strong.
Tyler David. Walls lifting for Rudolph, looking for Valesky, pushing into the back of Timbo.
Valesky didn't know whether to head that or volley that, did he? Dropping over his shoulder, always a difficult one to deal with.
David slides, and the former Billiken kept that in. Walls, David. Cochran trying to play a similar ball, steered to Fenlison.
That's Ledbetter who's pushed forward, taking turns with Rudolph to attack down that right-hand side for St. Louis. Now, if that is the case, when you've got that runner going from deep, it's easy for a central defender to make a diagonal 60-yard pass, particularly because you've only got Dequa up there on his own to try and stop them.
Slid ahead to Gorick. Orlando's gotten better hold of the game. They fell the bottom of the table Richmond last time out at home. That game was moved up to 4:30 Eastern time to allow for both OCB and the Orlando Pride of the NWSL to play ahead of the effects of Hurricane Irma. And to those of you watching in Orlando, we hope that you're okay. And if you're not, we hope that you will be soon. All those in South Florida, thoughts with you for sure. Out of the reach of De Silva, and out for a throw. Well, it's a great crowd on hand at Toyota Stadium tonight. Ryan House provided the thrilling goal, and the team still very much alive in the playoff chase in the USL's very bunched up Eastern Conference. Just 5 points out of position with 5 to go, but this Orlando team is the one in the 8th seed right now.
I think there's a bit of toing and froing still to be done. Won't be something that gets solved quickly, I got a feeling.
We look forward, they'll host FC Cincinnati. They're in 7th. Next up here in St. Louis. Then at Harrisburg, and then they'll host Richmond and at Bethlehem, who are currently in 9th. Harrisburg is bringing up the rear, or near it, in the East. So favorable schedule, favorable opportunity for St. Louis that would have liked to have got a bit more work done a little bit earlier, but not out of it yet by any stretch of the imagination. Tony Walls does enough to keep this away from Dequa. Feely after Fenlison almost took that away.
Well, the goalkeeper wants to play, doesn't he? And that could be an issue. Seriously, because he's already had a couple of kicks that haven't been the best. So you would now, if you're a St. Louis striker, Feely and Valesky, is put that under pressure. And then maybe if you can get a couple of midfield players to push on and maybe pinch the ball close to their goal.
Walls takes the hop off the turf. Dequa not giving him any inches at all. Walls turned it over. Schweitzer tapping back to the touchline. Dequa reclaiming. Timbo driving on still. Timbo, it's a long run. Rudolph took it away. Timbo's in the box now. Slid out by Howe. A perfect challenge, and Ledbetter will get it out. Gorick is still having words with the goal. Would-be goal scorer.
Not quite sure what Timbo's problem was there. The fact that he had a dramatic dive. I know you're desperate for me to go Timbo. Yeah. But see there's dramatic dive. Then he gets up and there's a spat with Howe. Come on, chaps, get on with it.
Clean challenge in your mind, right?
Yeah. He'd lost his footing. It could have been a spectacular solo run and a goal. Just didn't happen, so move on.
Fenlison started out, returns to goal. Donovan nearly short-armed it. That's a great catch.
Isn't it?
Put him in goal.
Yeah.
Woo. He just became a St. Louis starlet right there. Feely, that dumps over. He was offside. I should note that between Adam Grinwis and Dave Legoric, there really isn't need for another goalkeeper for St. Louis right now. But there are teams that could use the skills that that man just showed off.
Now sounding like his agent.
Yeah. I'm sounding like Jeremy Allenbaugh saying, well, we have enough goalkeepers, the general manager for St. Louis. Someone's got to tell the poor guy no.
See, the thing with Orlando, they've got themselves back in the game. They've got good possession. Territorially, they're more dominant. But they're still a goal down. You can have all this possession and have all sorts of things going your way, but unless you convert it into goals, it is virtually meaningless. Yeah, referee's seen him creeping up the sidelines one too many times now. Send him back.
Ooh. Timbo's taking a long walk off a short cliff. High arcing ball with a decent amount of backspin on it too. Now Donovan's been put under pressure. It's more emphatic.
Well, it solves a problem. You know, if it goes out of play by the halfway line, fine. If someone regains possession in that area, okay. But it's not on the edge of your 18-yard area. That's the problem.
Dequa shoving in, and they'll call a foul.
Referee's got a decision to make here.
There's a yellow out. The yellow goes.
It's Cochran, AJ Cochran. There's contact. Referee's got to be certain that he wasn't the last player. In which case, if he is, send him off. Now they want handball. They want him sent off. They want everything.
If you give a moose a muffin, they'll want a handball, deliver it.
You're going to have to talk me through that in the break.
Sure.
There's contact and he impedes him. I'm not sure where the handball comes from, but yeah, you've impeded him there. There's no intention to play the ball. In fact, you're not even the same zip code as the ball right there. If you take my meaning not too literally.
Preki is rather calm about the whole thing.
No, he's not.
Christopher Slane, the unenviable job of telling him, well, we know De Silva can assist. We know he can hit free kicks. This is a dangerous place for him to have it.
So, as a lefty, you'd be thinking he'd be looking to go around the wall.
Pierre De Silva! Well, he put that over the bar. It was a good effort.
It's a difficult one from that distance for even the best, because it's not a lot of time in terms of the clock and not a lot of distance for you to get it up, over and around. It's not that far away.
Uber talented De Silva, a 19-year-old U.S. Youth International, homegrown for the Orlando City organization. Schweitzer went over the top.
Quite literally. There's attacking the ball and throwing yourself recklessly at it. I think that was more the latter.
Howe overthrew Feely. Zach Carroll, the former New York Red Bulls 2 player.
Feely's worked hard, you know. You're saying this is what? Only one of a handful of starts he's ever had?
Second in the last 2 years. The first one came last year with Orange County.
Yeah, he's worked hard. He's been disciplined in where he's closed down. He's given the goalkeeper a few problems. When he's had the chance, he's taken players on. So, yeah, he should be quite satisfied with the first half. He'll probably get subbed at half-time now. I've said all of that, but there we are.
Well, and that's a lot of minutes for a guy who hasn't played many this year. You look at Feely, he's played all 67 minutes.
Mind you, Preki said there are guys that have worked hard in training.
Now's the time.
They've got their opportunity. Let's see if they take it. And I think those words are meant not to intimidate, but to inspire.
He looks pretty inspired, Feely does.
There you go.
Through the legs by Schweitzer, slid out. Howe arriving and kicking into the corner. Nothing there. Stoppage time is brought to you by Hot Shots. Be sure to visit one of 12 local Hot Shots locations after the match. It's Ellis Hayden. Dished off to De Silva. Tried to play it through for Martz.
And Wolves had come across, hadn't they, from his right back position into a more central defensive area on the left-hand side. And just as well, he'd read that situation because I think De Silva was about to just pick the pocket of that back line.
Simply wing this as far upfield as you can. Out over Martz, so maybe a chance late here. Stoppage time more or less elapsed. Valesky, and there is halftime. Ryan Howe, the difference maker in the 10th minute, and it's a 1-0 lead for St. Louis at the half.
Impressive start from the home side, and within 10 minutes they get a just dessert in terms of the goal. That's the difference so far. But you can see Orlando has been the more dominant side in the latter stages of this period, so be interesting to see how both teams come out for the start of the second period.
Fenlison allows the goal 10 minutes in. He made a couple of pretty good saves in this opening half. But St. Louis is ahead. Ryan Howe settling, shooting, scoring. His second goal of the year. St. Louis's playoff hopes may ride on that moment. It's 1-0 at halftime. When we come back, highlights and stats from the half that was. Halftime at Toyota Stadium in Fenton, Missouri. The fans have had something to cheer for so far. Halftime brought to you by Hollywood Casino. Hollywood Casino is excited to be the newest pub-to-park location for upcoming St. Louis FC home games More information at stlouisfc.com. And now, Amir Alihodzic is a St. Louis Scott Gallagher product. He's one of the young stars of this side. We go behind the shield.
My childhood in Bosnia was rough. I mean, I was born in the worst time. There was a big war going on, and there was not much good stuff there. So I was born in a bad area, and it's like bad memories and stuff I don't want to think about. But it's just good things that I got out of there. But it's also helped me be more humble. Now the stuff that I have, and I'm really thankful for, and I know what people go through every day. The biggest influence, my parents. My parents, I give them so much credit. They took me to practice when they come back from work, a long day of work. My coaching staff at University of Nebraska at Omaha, they taught me a lot of good stuff, a lot of mental stuff that I came there a young player, and I feel like I left as more experienced, and it was like a second father figure, my coach. My favorite player was Michael Ballack. He played for Germany and Bayern, and those were my two favorite teams growing up. And he was just a great role model. He wasn't one of those flashy players, but he was a captain, and he made the whole team flow. So that's what I liked about it. I feel like it's like a professional environment. They treat you like everyone's going to be a pro. You know, that's the main thing they teach you here, that anybody that makes those top teams or even lower teams, that you could each day you could get better and be at the top, and that's the main thing that I learned from there. So keep working. It's never settle. No matter if you have a good practice one day, you just keep working hard. Like you come in the next day and like you weren't even there yesterday. So you just got to keep your head up. If you don't make the best team, you just keep working hard, keep striving for next year, and everything will work out. The most excited I was about was playing in front of my family. When I was in Seattle, they watched me play one game, and I wanted to play more in front of them and in front of my friends and for my city. This is like my second home, and I wanted to give it back to it. And I was excited when I came back here. I heard many good things about the club. We have a really good coach, and I'm excited to play for him, and he brings the best out of me right now, so I'm happy here.
It's half. It is halftime in St. Louis, and there are a few players who better embody the St. Louis Scott Gallagher Academy, everything it does for the community and for St. Louis FC and their fan base. A really amazing story about Amir Alihodzic, who did play once here last year when the team was in the Western Conference. He did score for Seattle. Right now, St. Louis has the lone goal. Ryan Howe, the goal scorer. We come back in a moment after a word from our sponsors. St. Louis 1, Orlando City B 0 at the half.
I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing.
I was very independent and thought I could take care of myself. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels.
After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak.
Meals on Wheels coming to my door as someone who's housebound, having someone check on me, assures me that I'm not forgotten.
Meals on Wheels has given me a mode of freedom that I wouldn't have otherwise.
We're the clients.
We are the clients.
We are the clients of Meals on Wheels.
America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
We've raised the stakes. Expectations are high. Our biggest season yet will break records with elite players and future stars. Innovative technology and new homes. We're growing the game in our communities and across the nation. Are you ready?
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. At work or at play, you're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Oh, hey, she's cute. Nice going, man. Things are going great for you. You've earned a night out. Good drinks, good friends. Yeah, we can go ahead and call this a good night. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Not smart. Yeah, I saw that coming. Say goodbye to her. Ouch, that'll hurt your bank account. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. I hope you like eating frozen dinners. Alone. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
The cutouts come with the tickets. No, they don't. You have to bring them yourself. It's halftime here in Fenton, Missouri. 1-0 in the Hollywood Casino halftime show over Orlando City B. Mike Watts, Gary O'Reilly back with you. And we will continue the USL coverage not only in St. Louis, but all across the country. ESPN3 will have Reno 1868 and Oklahoma City Energy Wednesday, September 20th at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific out in Reno. Reno, the highest scoring team in Division II, and OKC led by Jimmy Nielsen, the former Sporting Kansas City goalkeeper. So a fantastic matchup to be had there. This has lived up to the billing so far. Massive game for St. Louis. We'll show you the first half after this. Halftime, what's more fun, a giant bag of popcorn or being able to slap hands with your heroes while they walk down the bleachers and back onto the field, Gary?
Tough call. I'm going with the popcorn.
Okay. 1-0 at halftime. Toyota Stadium over Orlando City B. Glad you could spend the evening with us. Gary O'Reilly, Mike Watts. Let's take a look at our halftime highlights. Presented by Hollywood Casino. And it was a first half where the first 15 minutes really did belong to St. Louis. Ali Hodzic and Valesky nearly cleaned it up.
Yeah, they got off on a good foot. They took the game to Orlando B, and they kept pressure. They kept momentum, and they got the deserving goal that really should have been coming earlier and could have come earlier. What a great strike from Ryan Howe. Bottom corner, no stopping that one. And you can see that area he's patrolling. He's been dispatched to be in that area, to keep an umbrella of everything around the 18-yard area. So as it does drop into there, there's a green shot on it first.
Howe, his second of the year. It's in the 10th minute, and St. Louis off to a blazing start. But Orlando City B would continue to attack as the half went along. Schweitzer nearly dinking that in, instead off the crossbar. Gorick a bit lucky.
Yeah, it was just indicative of where Orlando B had come to in the game, that they were beginning to attack, they were rattling the frame of the goal, and they were causing too many problems for St. Louis, really. And this, Timbo could have almost danced his way into the back of the net. Dramatic dive in the end, though. And an argument.
Yeah, well, Howe both involved in the argument and the challenge. Dequa getting ahead here. Ends up being a foul in a dangerous spot.
Yeah, it is. When you look at A.J. Cochran, he's made no real attempt to play the ball. It's an awkward, clumsy challenge. This, though, is not that far away, is it? You can see it's going to curl its way towards the top of the goal, but not quite below the bar.
Pierre Da Silva, that effort. Those highlights brought to you by Hollywood Casino. Excited to be the newest pub to park location for upcoming St. Louis FC home games. More information, visit stlouisfc.com. Here are the halftime statistics. And the possession was actually fairly even.
It was. What you're looking at is the team away from home. Orlando B, 7 shots and no goals. I want to do something about that.
We'll see if the second half can provide an impetus for OCB. For St. Louis, they certainly hope not. It's been a story that's claimed the last 2-3 weeks of their season. A 4-match winless streak with a couple draws. They could very easily have had another 5-6 points in the bag of late. And instead, it only provides more value, more importance to these 3 points tonight. Gary O'Reilly, Mike Watts, on to the second half of play between St. Louis and Orlando. Throw coming for Austin Ledbetter, who moves to the near side of your screen. Blue shorts, green tops for St. Louis tonight. Ledbetter there defensively. David will try the left. Howe, the early hero. David switch lazily to Ledbetter. Played right out of that.
Yeah, just simple first-time passing.
Da Silva for Orlando City B. Turned over to Valesky. Slides the ball ahead for Feely. Rudolph, 5 of his 6 goals this year scored at home. Trying to backheel it further, Valesky. He appeared to be in an offside position, and a player down behind the play for St. Louis.
Let's see who that is that got a bit of distress.
That's Ali Hodzic. A bit chilling, the feature we saw at halftime about his time growing up in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yeah, there's a couple of the guys that have emerged out of war-torn areas with a similar backstory, but have gone on to find a career in professional football, which has been such a saving grace for them.
Chance to come back to St. Louis, play in front of the home fans, including his family.
Yeah, that's an added incentive.
Always. You look at this roster, a ton of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, St. Louis Scott Gallagher guys, St. Louis University guys. St. Louis has really provided quite the net for the larger Midwest area in terms of players coming and playing really for this city in St. Louis. Martz against Cochran, who slid that away. Cochran, a St. Louis native. David.
Good feet from David there.
Rudolph.
All right, does he have the speed to outrun Timbo? What's he got?
He'll slice it. Continuing on, Ledbetter. And there's Fenlison. A last gasp dive. And now Ledbetter shown a yellow card.
Yeah, maybe for raising a boot in front of the goalkeeper, and he's got to be careful he doesn't give the referee too much of his thinking.
That is his 5th yellow card. He is suspended for the next match. He was on yellow card accumulation warning.
So when he comes in here, bobbles up on his first touch, and he stretches a leg out there. Neither the defender nor the goalkeeper too happy with that. They reacted immediately, and I think the referee's not taking any back chat from the player. Just flicks a boot out. Unnecessary, really, but sometimes you do that in the heat of the moment without really intending to cause any damage. You're just frustrated that the ball got away from you.
And now David going in recklessly. Brecky vacating his spot on the bench to discuss with Christopher Slane, 4th official. To be a fly on the wall there. Essentially you are. De Silva still through the contact. Dishes wide, Timbo. Serves. It's got a lot of length on it. Was it off the back of Bjurman? Yeah, it's a corner. And Seth Rudolph is down in a heap. So in the 51st minute, a corner to Orlando City B.
Just getting a bit physical out there at the moment, isn't it? A couple of players getting bumps and bruises. Just got to remain calm.
It's a short corner this time.
A lot of movement at the far post.
De Silva trying to get by Bjurman. He allowed that out at the byline when it seemed like he had a good chance to serve.
Well, it's on his weaker right foot, isn't it? And I'm thinking he'll be looking to work that bat onto his left foot and try and achieve something. Frustrating for a coach when you get a corner and you set something up and it breaks down because you practice them long and hard so as they don't.
Off of Schweitzer, who initially thought that was flailing out of play. That earlier yellow card we've since received word from the 4th officials table was for that flailing leg getting up high. Bit of unsporting conduct according to the 4th official, and so it is. Header into midfield. There's some space here. Orlando City B is retreating. Rudolph gliding in. Rudolph looking for options, lays it off. David right into Fenlison. Neal could make a mess of this, and in the end, David stepping on his heels.
Rudolph does well here because you're thinking to yourself, a guy with, 6 goals already?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go for number 7. but he doesn't. He sees David in the central area. Now, if you're in the central area, you're between the lines of both posts. The target is obviously that much bigger, so he sets him up. I just think he's gone to guide that in. He's got to test the goalkeeper a little bit better than that.
David.
Sorry, go ahead.
As Valesky almost picked Fenlison's pocket. That looks familiar.
Didn't it? When we've seen this in the first half, Fenlison likes to take a chance. So therefore, set him up. Allow him to come out so far and then go straight in.
Ledbetter knocked that away from De Silva on the counter. David has one goal. It was last year with St. Louis FC. He hasn't scored yet this year, and that's as clear a look as he's going to get.
What he had was time and space. He's got space ahead of him, either side of him, so he can get a good body shape. Just maybe he's not opted for power, which I understand, but he's got to look at the picture in front of him. Where's the goalkeeper? Where's my best chance to score? Rather than just think, keep it on target, get it on target.
De Silva showing off a bit of skill. Anthony Pulis appealing for a foul. De Silva felt that a boot had gotten up from Ledbetter and hit him in the chin.
So this is the age-old question. Did the player put his head down or did the other player raise his boot too high?
Both.
Yes. So that's the decision the referee's got to make. Was it a dangerous high boot or did the player put his head so far down?
She's reaching for a back pocket still.
Ooh, so.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ledbetter got more than a talking to here. And Daniel Chesky did reach for a back pocket. Ledbetter's been sent off. Okay. It's a second yellow, rather.
Well, that's not going to help at all. Ledbetter and St. Louis. You know, there might be a case to be made for Ledbetter's conversation with the referee with the foul on the goalkeeper and what was said, and now doing something like that.
Well,
it's tough. I mean, you know, you can understand both sides of the equation on this, but the referee will have the final say no matter what.
What a unique walk-off after being sent off. Yes. Through the stands he goes.
Yeah.
De Silva being held off and talking with the referee, Daniel Chesky. Wes Sharpie is waiting to come on, so it'll be an immediate response.
So that's got to be... He's going to be thinking about, right, replacing the fullback.
So he'll stand over there with the fourth official. Now he'll come on. This substitution brought to you by G&W Meats, the Bavarian-style sausage company.
So Sharpie comes on for Tyler Feely.
Well, Feely goes 55 minutes in his first start with St. Louis. Performed pretty admirably.
Yeah, and has to come off because the player's been sent off and this is a tactical sacrifice. So I think he shouldn't feel too hard done by. Just one of those things. If you're going to take a player off, you take off a striker because you need that defensive shape.
Well, they have options. De Silva touches it into play. Close off the backside of Alehadzic. Coming up again close, trying to knock it over the top. David will control. Well, the table has been set again for St. Louis. You're up a goal, but you're down a man for the final 35 minutes. You've had trouble keeping leads or even one-point results in the bag, and now, with the playoffs very much on the line, this is the table that's been set, the hand dealt.
This is the way it goes, but the formation is not too far removed from the one that started. It's 4-4-1 rather than 4-4-2. Just means those players have got to do a little bit more of the hard work. And the Orlando B players will be in the referee's ear for any challenge that they feel is a little bit harsh.
Alehadzic this time not harsh enough to draw a caution. Anthony Pulis, after the first meeting of the year, said that his team had scouted them well, thought it was going to be chippy. So far, it certainly matched up to the second meeting between the clubs.
Yeah, just a little bit of a lunge on March there. That's probably what's got the Orlando B players a little bit aggrieved. what might well happen is there's been more space for the Orlando B defenders to have possession because they've only got the one striker, Valesky, to chase them down, which means they might decide to go three at the back, push one in, but that's very much unlike Pulis and his thinking. Likes his back four.
Could the circumstances change what is decades of thought in that family tree?
Yeah, like father, like son. You know, you organize things properly and structure it so as you don't get broken down, and then you build from there.
Sharpie waiting to throw. Of Tarpon Springs in Florida. And a chance to play against this Orlando City side. Rudolph, bit of a discussion point. He's felt there have been good moments, Preki, over the course of this year. Said we have to find a way to create a bounce or two that goes our way. Already once off the bottom of the crossbar, now down a man. Will they find the necessary bounces down the stretch? Pick up 3 points at home.
Still a long way to go, you know, for those 10 players to work. In the best part of 30 minutes, you're asking them to do a lot of running. Now, if you're Orlando B, you're playing an opponent that's one man down. Move the ball. Move the ball as quick and as fast. Just keep changing it, because the ball moves faster than the man every time. Just run the legs out of your opposing team.
Well, Martz this time gives a reprieve to St. Louis, and this is not necessarily a mathematical must-win. It is not statistically a must-win, but I think a lot of fans are thinking you have to have this game at home if you want to make a playoff run here. Is that something that enters into your mind as a player down to 10 men when you expend energy, that this is the line in the sand?
Well, you just think to yourself, we got to win. Let's not be looking back at this game and saying, well, there was 3 points that went away from us.
Valesky, there's contact in the box, pointing towards the spot. Bjurman earns a penalty at the hour mark. And down a man, St. Louis can pull ahead by 2.
I'm not sure if there's a great deal of contact here, but it might be the lack of control in the challenge on Bjurman that gets the referee's attention and makes her think this is a penalty. Because you don't always have to make contact on the player for it to be a foul. It can be an out of control attempt at a challenge. So, you know, you're not in a good place. So the other point is it's pointless arguing with the referee. Things don't work out well for you. So you just have to accept it and have faith in your goalkeeper, because there's nothing you can do about it right now.
So Bjurman earns it. Valesky set to take it. 20 goals over the last 2 seasons in Rochester. He's scored 6 this year. He can be the team leader if he's able to score here on Fenlison. He could put St. Louis ahead by 2. He's been referred to as a poacher. Valesky, an out-and-out goal scorer.
Test the nerve.
Fenlison in goal. Valesky shooting. He goes right. Fenlison goes opposite. 2-0 St. Louis.
Oh, Preki wanted the rub of the green. They well have got it there. Interesting they chose blue smoke.
Here's the replay of the St. Louis FC goal, delivered by Domino's and Christian Valesky.
Goalkeeper completely befuddled. See, that's the goalkeeper's dived to the natural side for a right-footed penalty taker. They invariably will go to their left because it's the natural body shape. So, as to the question prior, the penalty kick, does he have the nerve? I think we know the answer.
A resounding yes. Still a long way to go here.
But don't get carried away. You're 2-0 up. You're still down to 10 men.
Right.
So you could still have a problem or two coming your way. There's plenty of time still on the clock. And teams are always vulnerable just after they've scored. There's a couple of games in recent weeks where St. Louis have scored and then conceded a goal within a minute or so.
Positively massive that they don't here. Joe Gallardo waiting to come on for Orlando. Close. Swung it ahead. Schweitzer plays it wide. Numbers forward. Ellis Hayden snap down. They're looking for a handball. Won't come against Walls.
Oof.
Taking it away. Close. Close off his right foot. Again. Played through this time. Plenty of contact. Martz. And now David kicks it out.
This is when the panic starts. And this is where it just falls apart for teams, particularly defenses, if they're under sustained pressure.
So you're saying now's not the time to get up off the couch?
No, not at all.
Change coming, a substitution. That's brought to you by G&W Meats. Joe Gallardo on for Paul Close. Made his 12th start of the season. Former ACC midfielder of the year at Clemson gives way to Gallardo, 19 years of age.
See, if you're a St. Louis defender and all of a sudden you start to panic, and then you've got players dribbling around in the 18-yard box, it only takes one rash challenge penalty, and you're inviting the opposition to come in. Now, if I'm an Orlando B player, I want to be dribbling in and around the box to create that havoc.
Timbo, Dequa challenged by Walls, and a dive by Dequa.
Referee's in a good position to see that, and Dequa has not complained.
That's rather telling, isn't it?
Normally it is.
With the Cameroonian U20 youth national team, hasn't scored since May. It would be a dandy time for him to do it for Anthony Pulis' side. Blue smoke continues to billow away from the scene of Christian Valesky's 7th goal of the year. Connor Donovan, Generation Adidas player, picked 22nd in the 2015 draft by Orlando. Central defense along with Carroll tonight. Schweitzer, the former Seattle homegrown. Gallardo pushing forward, his first attacking opportunity of the game. Howe slid in, he missed it. Martz drops off, Ellis Hayden. Away by Cochran.
Might just be a numbers game for Orlando. Just get the ball into the 18-yard area as many times as possible. Cause havoc, get problems, give a panic in those defenders.
Good settling touch and somehow keeping it. It's Timbo.
Timbo and Rudolph are having a right little ding-dong, aren't they?
They don't enjoy each other's company, do they?
It is a mismatch size-wise.
Martz played it low, out for a corner to Orlando in the 67th minute.
And this is what you want if you're Orlando. Get a corner. If you can't score a goal, get another corner, keep the pressure up. Just keep hammering away at St. Louis.
De Silva swings it out. David swings his head into it. Martz did not challenge Dave Gorick. So Gorick taking over. Metro PCS is the exclusive mobile network provider of St. Louis FC. Over 75 St. Louis metro area locations. you can join the network that covers 99% of people in the United States. Visit MetroPCS.com for additional information and the latest offers. The 1% that they don't cover, Dave Legoric does. At least tonight that's been the case. He's got 100% of the net on his way to a clean sheet.
All right, player down, Valesky. He's holding his lower back, maybe just took a knock.
Change coming. Number 8 on his way in. Dragan Stoikov standing next to the official. This substitution brought to you by G&W Meats. Tyler David on his way out, and Stoikov will come on in an attempt to keep the result for St. Louis. Tyler David, his 14th start of the year.
Need a bit of calm composure. Maybe Stoichkov can bring that. Just some old experienced heads just to calm things down, not let the pressure get to players. Make sure good communication, compact, the two banks of four, back four, midfield four, stay tight, work hard together. Don't allow themselves to be ripped apart by Orlando.
Interestingly, Stoikov has not come off the bench yet this year. 20 starts. This is 21st appearance. Contact as Valesky tripping to ground.
For me, Valesky does more about throwing himself to the ground and trying to draw the foul, but maybe the referee's brought it back for something else in the central area.
It appears so. Flag had gone up with the official, but Rudolph was down as well, and the ball's dribbling that way.
So there's the Valesky incident, but it seems like the referee's pulled it back for something completely different.
Free kick to St. Louis, down to 10 men. Not a lot forward for them here. Bjurman was the target. Howe has stripped it away. Howe lays it off. Bjurman into the area, lifts it across. Only Valesky there. Valesky cutting back and shooting. Fenlison ripped it in. A bit of juggling act from Valesky in that attempt.
If it falls better to Valesky, he takes that strike first time, because he does not have the luxury of seconds. Because as soon as he takes a second touch, he's going to be smothered in white shirts. The angles have gone, everything's diminished. But it never goes perfectly well when you're in that position. The ball never comes to you exactly the way you want. Well, it does to some players, just not always.
Ellis Hayden leveling back.
You'd have to think if Valesky scores the third. Tie a bow on this one. It's done.
Alas, the wait continues. One goal could turn this whole thing on its head. Really increase the concern on the St. Louis part. Down to 10 men now for 15 minutes without conceding. Actually scoring up a man on the penalty by Valesky. Howe, the other goal scorer, back in the 10th. Gallardo on the turn. Carroll for Donovan. Off to Timbo. Neal, the former MLS veteran. In the right-hand corner, Ellis Hayden goes to work. Got it in. Ball sliced towards the net. Follow-up shot ripped just wide.
They've peppered that goal, haven't they, there? Gallardo's first-time effort. Just stretching at it, can't keep his balance, and that one rips through. Neil probably thought once he makes that contact, this is in the back of the net and just skips off wide. This is the first one from Gallardo. Hits the defender. Then when it comes to Neil, those defenders are diving across the line of that strike. You can see how frustrated he is, Anthony Pulis.
Pulis still extraordinarily young. Retired right into the head coaching job for Orlando City B. Finished his career at Orlando. Timbo swung that, nobody there. Gallardo chasing to the back post. There's Stoikov. Slid right into Martz. Schweitzer. Neal. Out of the reach of De Silva.
But that was better from Orlando, moving that ball quickly. If you're defending against that, it's so difficult with one man less. You've got to work that much harder. But it's doable. It's certainly doable from St. Louis, and they've got to take heart from the fact they've got a 2-goal cushion. Just can't allow Orlando to have too much possession.
De Silva considered the run. Instead, will drive himself toward the byline. Stays in play. Gallardo giving chase. Carroll, Neal, 4 years in MLS in total. DC United, Orlando. And out of the reach of Bierman.
Take as long as you like for this goal kick.
Gork played all over. Mark Pace signing with Toronto FC over the offseason, signed to their MLS roster. Came in and has played a massive role this year for St. Louis FC. Acres of space. Gorick going back.
Thought about it, didn't he, Gorick?
That had gotten out over the end line. That's a split-second decision and an even splitter-second decision back from Gorick.
Yeah, that's under the heading of hesitation. You misread that completely. You're best off just being calm and sticking out. When it does go forward, Valesky's just got to hold on to it. Keep the ball for as long as he possibly can.
Well, it could become a bit dangerous. That's really well taken.
That's exactly what you need from your lead striker.
Martz and Howe, combatants again. Sprayed for Timbo. Riley Kraft has gotten up on the Orlando bench. He's waiting to come on. De Silva.
Don't foul.
Muscled away.
But in and around the 18-yard area, Mike, if you start to make rash challenges, you're going to force the referee into a decision. Is this a penalty? Is this a free kick? Just got to be patient. You have to be disciplined.
In this case, it's a corner to Orlando. In the 77th.
Ooh.
Header is off frame. Like Lewis Neal, who got forward. One of 7 changes in the lineup tonight by Preki, Dave Legoric.
We question the wisdom of making 7 changes, and at the moment, Preki seems to have found the right solution.
He's got his spot, we have ours. Good reason for both. At least we'd like to think. It's Neal now.
What they can't do, St. Louis, is work this hard. and then give it away. They've got to stay at the task.
Martz tried to play that back. Martz slid in. Dequa is there.
And that's the sort of thing I meant. Alihadzic there with just a little drop in concentration, and you turn into the wrong space at the wrong time, and it goes horribly wrong. On that occasion, it didn't, but that's how easy it is to make a mistake.
Danny Deacon on for Austin Martz. This substitution brought to you by G&W Meats. Deacon scored once this year in July against the Rowdies. Well, Valesky's going to dribble right at this back line. Valesky off the defender's legs of Deacon. Taken back, Alihadzic. Alihadzic! Oh, bouncing around. After that inspired effort.
That was a net buster. I really did think he'd got hold of that. I just wondered when Valesky took the strike through that crowd of legs. But here, look, third touch, and then pulls the trigger. Just rises too much, doesn't it? Good little phase of play for St. Louis. Valesky, Rudolph comes up on the support, and it breaks to Alihadzic.
Stoikov.
Just a reminder to Orlando that if they attack too freely, there's a potential for them to concede a third.
Dequa with Walls. Goal kick for St. Louis. Up 2, down a man. Howe in the 10th, and then in the second half, things sort of broke open a bit. A 54th minute, second yellow to Austin Ledbetter, and then Christian Valesky on a penalty drawn by Mats Bjurman, making it 2-0. Valesky, we know he's not afraid to go driving. In this case, Lewis
He's refereeing the game, Valesky, now. He went down, decided to grab the ball, give the decision.
We've all seen that go the other way before, though. That the handball that's called for the foul that wasn't.
Yep.
The Hodzic had company. Howe does too. Deacon.
See, the thing now for St. Louis, the players are going to start to experience the fatigue of being down for 10 men for so long. So rather than dwell on the ball, just try and make your decisions for passes as quickly as possible. In other words, see the picture before you get the ball.
Stoikov.
Tough one to call, the referee. I think no one would have argued if she'd have given it the other way. Right, that substitution is now coming on.
That's Scott Thompson. Last year with Richmond. Out of the University of Virginia, where he played with Zach Carroll. Carroll will come off in his stead. A substitution brought to you by G&W Meats. Third and final substitute available to Orlando. So this is how they'll finish. Orlando next hosting Charleston. They've got 36 points, the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference playoff. St. Louis in 11th right now, 31 points. They can snap a 4-match winless streak, move within 2 points of the playoffs tonight. They host Cincinnati next. Gallardo ran into a couple of players, Rudolph among them, De Silva. 4,456 tonight, Toyota Stadium. A solid crowd.
Yeah, I think they'll be happy with that.
This is brought down in the area. Gallardo.
That's defending that you can deal with. It's not pretty, but it is effective. Just put your boot straight through it and we'll argue about it later.
Neal. Here comes Schweitzer.
That's
this
dangerous.
is excellent. There goes Dequa, saved by Gorick. Still alive. Ball fired in and all the way across the face of goal and out.
Dequa must think, at last, a solid goal chance that I can do something with. How about that from Gorick? What an outstanding save.
Danny Deacon, the follow-up.
Lovely little ball in behind. Dequa's pace gets him there. Gorick, goalkeepers love that. They work day in and day out to get their angles right. You come at the near post, I've got just what you need. Big pair of gloves.
Wipe that away. Deacon, not only the follow-up, but also that initial little touch. '84th minute, and Anthony Pulis arguing the point heavily with the fourth official. Long ball that Rudolph got a touch to. Thompson now. Rudolph is taking it away. Rudolph! Oh, cut that too hard.
It's difficult because he's working hard. He knows they need this third goal to seal the deal. And he's not thinking with a cool head. It's a whole hot head and he snatches and he swipes across it. If he's nice and calm earlier in the game, he probably places that towards the far post.
Deacon has picked out De Silva well. Thompson is behind him. De Silva playing for Dequa.
What a great ball in from Dequa from De Silva. Look how calm he is in his touch, De Silva. Unlike Rudolph at the other end, just knew exactly where to just curl that ball around for Dequa's run.
Corner to Orlando. Gorick, it skips off his hands. He'll cut in front of Dequa. He's got it. An update elsewhere in the USL as RGV has a 1-0 lead. Justin Bilyeu, the former New York Red Bulls 2 player, scoring against Reno, who have risen up to second in the Western Conference. Reno now down a man. Dane Kelly was sent off, the league's joint leading scorer. For more information on USL scores and results, follow on Twitter @USL or visit USLsoccer.com.
I wonder what impact Kelly's sending off will have on their ability to hit the back of the net, depending on how long he's out of action.
We'll find out. That is the best offense in Division II in this country. Reno has just lit it up. Max Alvarez will come on. Enough for Christian Valesky, a substitution brought to you by G&W Meats. He's a goal scorer in the 62nd, the penalty. Well, Valesky did his job tonight.
Yep, led the line well, worked hard, took his penalty extremely well.
Trying to hold off Ellis Hayden. Ellis Hayden still has it. Ricochets down to Hodzic. Rudolph. Karem's free to Bjurman. Poked away by Donovan. Dribbling ahead. Ellis Hayden. Rudolph. We've seen this matchup before.
Sometimes the St. Louis players do like to dribble, no matter whereabouts on the field it is, and that must cause their coach a bit of a headache.
After the final whistle, head over to Twitter @StLouisFC to vote for your Pleats Man of the Match. Options galore tonight. It's been a team effort. Thompson, De Silva. Plays it through. Thompson will not get there in time.
But you saw there De Silva's vision and ability to execute a difficult pass. can see why his reputation has grown so quickly for a young man.
Number 1 in the USL's 20 under 20 years old list. Neal, pondering options, chooses Donovan. Donovan will send it low, skips all the way through and out a corner.
Could have gone anywhere, deflection, but Goric has been the match so far of everything that's come his way.
Another opportunity on another corner for Orlando. 2 players sky out. Neal lifts towards the penalty spot, looking for De Silva. Headed further still. De Silva's spin move spins out. Now Rudolph pulled down.
Yeah, Thompson there with a blatant foul.
Thompson's first yellow of the year in his 15th appearance. For 50 years, Jed Transportation has delivered a perfect ride every time. Jed Transportation is the official transportation partner of St. Louis FC. Receive special fan offers when you mention the promo code STLFC. A result from elsewhere in the league. Pittsburgh and Rochester in Pittsburgh have finished 1-1. And so with this result, St. Louis can move within 2 points of Orlando. Cincinnati has won 4-2 over New York. So they are now 5 points clear of St. Louis with a win tonight.
As I said before, this one doesn't seem as if it's going to be solved quickly, does it, in terms of the Eastern Conference playoffs?
Rudolph back to the corner. Alvarez was fouled. There's a yellow card coming for that. This time it's De Silva.
Yeah. Players losing their discipline slightly right now, and the referee is having no option but to throw some cards around.
De Silva, 5 yellow cards and a couple reds this year. Keeping it colorful. We're into stoppage time. Stoppage time is brought to you by Hot Shots. Be sure to visit one of 12 local Hot Shots locations after the match. Four more minutes. It must feel like an eternity. Right now, this feels very much under control, but with 10 men, you never do know. This was a master class tonight from Preki. 7 changes.
Well, if you've got belief in your players, if you've got belief in the squad, and you're in tune with how they're reacting in training, what they're bringing you, what they're showing you, then you don't have a problem putting them in. And if everyone in the squad buys into the fact that players will be rotated and he will change his team, which a lot of coaches do time in and time out, then you can get good results. For St. Louis, it's wish we could get consistency. If they could deliver consistency, then you really would have something worth watching time in and time out.
Schweitzer, Dequa taken away, only momentarily. Ellis Hayden played it into an offside position.
Referee does well there because she plays on and because the player doesn't react to the ball and go chasing it. So she allows it to flow.
Kicked away. Neal, not a great first touch. Alvarez is on the move. Alvarez continuing still.
That'll do. Draw the foul.
And seconds will continue to tick, tick, tick.
Draw the foul, eat the clock, take your time with the free kick.
Neal will pick up a yellow for that effort. This morning, there were advertisements from St. Louis FC inviting fans out to the game during Premier League matches on NBC. Great crowd tonight. Alvarez fouled here. Captain of this side. That was the role that he was asked to take on, the leader of this OCB side, one that has such a proud history in United Soccer League. Bierman has his pocket picked, but not for long. He's taking it back. Schweitzer rolls it ahead. Howe, he's got the game-winning goal on his foot right now. 10th minute. Had St. Louis fallen tonight, 7 and 8 in the playoffs, would have both picked up 3 points apiece. Preki high-fiving down the bench. They could have been down 8 points with 4 to go. And instead, this is a ginormous result.
What they have to do now is back it up with consecutive wins.
Have to.
Then go on a tear, go on a winning streak.
De Silva. Ball lobbed in. There was a delay of game yellow card that went to Connor, make that Wes Sharpie.
Yeah, wouldn't give the ball back for a throw-in.
It wouldn't be Connor Donovan with that problem, the other 22. Well, this could be the final kick of this one. There could be a bit more to do, but Dave Legoric appears holding a clean sheet in St. Louis.
That would be important. Get the clean sheet. You know, just double up on the good stuff. You know, get the win and get the clean sheet. Make it even better.
Gorick drives it away. De Silva heads it up, and it is a giant 3 points at home. St. Louis behind goals from Howe and Valesky overcome over 30 minutes down a man and knock off OCB to draw within 2 points of the playoffs with 4 games to go tonight in Fenton.
Great result for the home side. They got off on the right note with Ryan Howe's opener and then sealed the deal with Valesky's penalty. Job well done and a clean sheet to go home with. How happy are they?
13th in the East in goals allowed, 42 this year. A shutout tonight. The 4-game winless streak is over. Howe and Valesky, the goal scorers. St. Louis 2, Orlando City B 0. Flags waving, fans supporting, players appreciating. 4,400 plus tonight at Toyota Stadium. A 2-0 win for St. Louis over Orlando City B. Mike Watts back with Gary O'Reilly. Here are the full-time highlights between St. Louis and Orlando City B. And St. Louis from the opening gun, a good start, and Howe, a goal in the 10th minute was a fine strike.
what a way to open up. Pile driver in there from the left back. No real way that's going to get stopped. And you'd have to say prior to kickoff that would have been unexpected, but Orlando did come back, and that is almost the equalizing goal for the visitors.
If Schweitzer puts this in, who knows how this game will turn.
Could well have seen St. Louis crumble, but they didn't. And that's the interesting thing from their character.
De Silva going in here, Ledbetter, cleats a bit high. This is his second yellow card in the 54th.
Yeah, and it's it's minutes after he'd been booked for the incident with the goalkeeper, and the referee having no tolerance for that.
So in the 54th minute, St. Louis down a man, and they would respond quite well. Valesky driving in just minutes later. Bjurman against Donovan. That's a penalty.
There's contact. It's obviously in the 18-yard area, and look at the referee's position. She's in a splendid place to see exactly what happened, as opposed to the goalkeeper, who wasn't in a good place to do anything about this.
Christian Valesky in the 62nd minute, a no-doubter, his 7th of the year. Orlando, a couple good opportunities late. David Legoric would shut this down from Albert Dequa.
Yeah, just when it comes to goalkeeping, you find all of a sudden they've just got the answers, and superb goalkeeping.
Ball played in this time. Goric able to knock it away on Donovan's effort, and it finishes here 2-0. A look at the Eastern Conference standings now. Pittsburgh 1 point. That's all they would get. So the team closest to the playoff line at 36 points is OCB. It means with 4 games remaining, they are within 2 at 34 points.
Like I say, I still think there's a lot more to go as regards the playoffs. We know certain people are already there, but that argument for the lesser places is still to be had.
That's a pretty good crowd. That's a pretty rabid atmosphere.
They're loyal. They're loyal supporters. And it's good that they get the respect they deserve, because without the supporters, there is no club.
Reno OKC coming up on ESPN3 Wednesday, September 20th. A great showcase for the United Soccer League. St. Louis next against Cincinnati. They've moved up to 6th with their result tonight. That's massive again.
Yeah, all of the games now are taking on far more importance. And battle of nerves for who can hold theirs.
What a crowd. What an atmosphere. What a goal from Ryan Howe. 10th minute. It's his 2nd of the year. And it's the game winner. A shutout for David Legoric. Valesky scores as well. A picture-perfect night in Fenton, Missouri, as St. Louis knocks off OCB. 2-0 playing the last half an hour down a man for Miranda McCorrick. Roberto Fernandez, Brad Canfield, Gary O'Reilly, Mike Watts saying so long. St. Louis a winner. 2-0. Good night.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent from the United Soccer League.